political conflict is pushed to the margins. On the one hand, some figures who never figured in our history are sought to be depicted as the real heroes who led this country to independence, and on the other, the real heroes who sacrificed everything for the freedom struggle are totally blacked out. Even Mahatma Gandhi's role is belittled, and people like Savarkar are placed in limelight, a sheer distortion of history. Nowhere is this distortion more politically motivated than in the treatment of caste, communal violence, and minority resistance. Detailed discussions on caste oppression and anti-caste struggles have been softened or erased. The roots of communalism, colonial policies, organized religious nationalism, and political mobilization around faith are barely addressed. Partition, once thought as a human catastrophe of violence, displacement, and trauma, is reduced to a skeletal outline. The omission of the Malabar Rebellion of 1921 is particularly telling. One of the largest anti-colonial uprisings in South India, involving peasants resisting imperial exploitation and feudal oppression, is either absent or reduced to a communal caricature. The leadership of Variangunnathu Kunyamad Haji and Adi Musliar, who resisted the British rule and landlordism, is erased from national memory. By removing Malabar from history, the syllabus removes an entire chapter of anti-imperial struggle led by the rural poor. These omissions are not accidental. They reflect an ideological discomfort with history as a critical discipline. Professional historiography is built on evidence, debate, and complexity. It rejects the idea of a single, timeless, civilizational narrative. For the Sangh Parivar, whose politics rests on the myth of an ancient, homogeneous Hindu nation, such complexity is a threat. As a result, mythology is increasingly presented as history, while evidence-based scholarship is dismissed as Western, Marxist, or anti-national. This is where the systematic marginalization of Marxist historiography becomes central to the project. Indian historiography was transformed by scholars like D.D. Kosambi, who introduced materialist methods to the study of ancient India, linking social structures to economic change. R.S. Sharma deepened our understanding of early Indian society by analyzing class relations and state formation. Devi Prasad Chattopadhyaya challenged mystical interpretations of Indian philosophy by foregrounding materialist traditions. Irfan Habib's work on medieval India dismantled communal readings of history, while D.N. Jha fearlessly interrogated Brahmanical orthodoxy and food taboos. This tradition did not reduce history to ideology. It expanded the scope of inquiry. It brought labor, caste, gender, and material conditions into historical analysis. Today, this entire intellectual legacy is being pushed to the margins. Their works are removed from syllabi, their methods attacked, and their influence deliberately weakened because they challenge the ideological foundations of Hindutva. Running parallel to textbook distortions is the capture of research institutions. Bodies like the Indian Council of Historical Research and the Indian Council of Social Science Research have been reshaped through ideologically driven appointments. Academic merit is replaced by ideological loyalty. Research funding increasingly favors projects that seek to prove civilizational continuity or validate methodological claims, while studies on caste, communalism, inequality, and state violence face resistance. This assault is not limited to history alone. Science and education are also under attack. Scientific temper is undermined through the promotion of pseudo-scientific claims about ancient aviation, genetic engineering, and medical miracles without evidence. Curriculum changes weaken evolutionary theory and rational inquiry. Universities face surveillance, seminars are cancelled, scholars are targeted, and dissident is criminalized. When reason itself is treated as a threat, authoritarianism follows. The consequences are grave. History education shapes how societies understand injustice and inequality. When students are denied access to histories of struggle of Dalits, peasants, workers, minorities, they are denied the tools to analyze the present for the benefit of the future. A sanitized past produces a depoliticized citizenry. Harassing struggle weakens dissent. In this context, Kerala offers an alternative that is increasingly invisible in national narratives. Kerala's modern history was shaped by anti-caste struggles, social reform, and class-based politics. Iyengar's militant battles for Dalit rights, including access to public roads and education, were foundational to democratic expansion. Yet such figures are marginalized in national textbooks. The role of Srinarayana Guru is often reduced to spiritual reform, stripping away the radical social challenge to caste hierarchy. The Vaikram Satyagraha, which reshaped anti-untouchability movements across India, receives little national attention. The first democratically elected communist government in the world, formed in Kerala in 1957, is treated as a footnote despite its transformative land and education reforms. These omissions are deliberate. They challenge the idea that nationalism belongs to a single ideological stream. They show that democracy was built through struggle, not benevolence. At its core, this battle over history is a battle over imagination. Who belongs to the nation? Whose struggles matter? Which memories are preserved and which are erased? By distorting syllabi and subverting institutions, the ruling dispensation seeks to narrow these answers. Defending history is therefore a democratic duty. It means defending plurality, evidence, debate, and intellectual honesty. It means insisting that the past cannot be reduced to pride without pain, glory without struggle. The Indian History Congress has consistently challenged false propaganda that relied on a fabricated image of the past. In particular, you opposed the attempt to demolish the Babri Masjid, an important symbol of India's composite secular heritage. I am aware of the writings of Promila Thapar and her colleagues regarding the absence of historical basis to imagine the seat of the masjid as the birthplace of Rama. The historians of your organization talked loudly about the absence of historical evidence for the existence of a Rama temple there. In many other ways, you are continuing your struggle against communal and obscurantist forces. This proud tradition is not the only reason I am pleased to associate myself with the Indian History Congress. The Congress has also played a crucial role in popularizing scientific production of historical knowledge in India. Many presidential addresses, both by general presidents and by presidents of various sections, have been landmark contributions that opened new directions in critical historical research. I understand that your organization hosted pioneering research by scholars such as Professor Nurul Hassan, Professor R.S. Sharma, Professor Rumira Thapar, Professor Irfan Habib, Professor K.N. Panikar, and their students and the young generation. We have to be grateful to their scholarly contributions and critical interventions have sustained the scientific, secular, and composite character of the discipline. I strongly endorse rational, inclusive, justice-based, and empowerment-oriented approach to history. I am glad to see that despite immense pressures, the Indian History Congress continues this vital intellectual work. My feelings go with the Dalits, women, and all marginalized people who are struggling to cull out their legitimate place in history and critical historical thinking. Let there be wider and an ever more democratized and secularized space in bringing out justice, ensuring politically vibrant, socially useful, humanitarian historical research. Over the years, the Indian History Congress has been playing an important role in taking research in this direction. This accounts for my government's unfailing support in hosting the annual session of your organization. I am glad to see that despite immense pressures, the Indian History Congress continues its vital intellectual work. This accounts for the wholehearted support of my government to the safe, secure, and successful hosting of your organization's annual session in Kerala. This History Congress must send a clear message. History will not be surrendered. Truth will not be replaced by mythology. Scholarship will not bow to power. The future of India depends on our courage to defend the past with integrity. Thank you.
It gives us immense pleasure to invite Dr. V. Shivadasan.
Before I invite you, sir, there is a small ceremony which you will have to perform, Honorable Chief Minister Saab, and that is the release of the proceedings of the Indian History Congress and certain publications, official publications of the Indian History Congress. Please bring the volumes.